Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is finally going to be my review of the ATK Blazing Sky F1 Ultimate, potentially the best bang for your buck mouse on the market for a mouse that actually has high tier specs. This comes in at a 39 gram weight. It has a 3950 Ultra sensor, and I'll get into what that means later, whether or not it's really any different from a normal 3950. And it's a truly good small shape, in my opinion, that I got for $85 all in. Currently, it's sold out, but I believe for future batches, it's going to be $90 plus shipping, so it's not as cheap as I got it for, but still much cheaper than the likes of WL Mouse, Final Mouse, way cheaper than the Viper Mini Signature, and it is at a very competitive weight. A mouse that I think it stacks up well against is the Ninjutsu Sora V2. But yeah, these two shapes are completely different, and one thing that I find very unique about the Sora is how flat the slope is on the click. So that's totally not there on the F1 Ultimate, and the mouse gets much higher at a earlier point, whereas the Sora is like a back focused hump similar to the XM1, but the shape is just not a direct XM1 clone. And yeah, the Sora definitely feels wider than the F1 Ultimate, like it flares out more, it's just not as narrow. The sides are also flatter on the F1 Ultimate. In my opinion, this is actually a really good fingertip shape. And yeah, for me, the gold standard for fingertip is the Final Mouse small size, and as you can see, that is smaller. It's just a bit more narrow than the F1 Ultimate. So yeah, I think it lines up a bit better with the Final Mouse medium. You can see it has a higher hump. It definitely offers a bit more support for claw, and I would say it's kind of on the same level for fingertip, just in terms of feeling. Compared to the Viper Mini Signature, I think if you enjoy the Viper Mini Signature for claw, like there's a good chance you're going to enjoy the shape of the F1 Ultimate. The weight just feels so much better. It's kind of insane that the Viper Mini Sig at 49 grams and like $300, that just like exists. The F1 Ultimate, the weight balancing actually does seem to be very good, as you can tell. And yeah, to be completely honest, the shape and the weight of this mouse completely exceeded my expectations. It's just truly a top tier small mouse. It doesn't feel like a direct clone of anything. It feels like it took inspiration from a good amount of mice. It's by no means similar or a clone to the original, like VGN Dragonfly F1 Max. So yeah, that's definitely worth mentioning. And I do have a theory that this mouse was made in the same factory as the Sora V2. The bottoms of the mice are just the exact same. The fact that the mice are sold without any stock skates applied, they're just similar weights, similar coatings even. Both mice are using Omron optical switches. They have identical side button designs, this additional logo placement up here. There are really a lot of signs, and I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that really says anything about the mouse, but it's definitely, it just feels good. I do have one issue though, and it's an issue a lot of other people have, and it is an unfortunate like creaking, not even creaking, it's more just like side popping at a place where I actually grip the mouse when I fingertip. If you do claw grip and place your thumb higher up on the mouse, there's a lower chance you would really feel it or notice it as much. But I mean, if you do fingertip right here, like below the bottom side button, and yeah, I'll do a sound test right now. I know to some people it might seem minor, but every time you put pressure, adjust your grip, you're going to just feel the mouse popping. This is something I noticed with the original Lamzu Maya batch. Zowie had this issue a long time ago, and it's actually, I think my current U2 copy has it. So this is a kind of common issue with mice, but this is just a really unfortunate placement for it. And yeah, while that QC issue is annoying, it obviously does not kill the mouse, like make it absolutely unusable. But I can't say that the mouse is built like a tank. Like if I do squeeze a bit, not only will I feel that side popping, I will feel an additional like little bit of side flex. I mean, it is a 39 gram plastic mouse. That is pretty fucking light. There's also a bit of rattling. It's not scroll wheel rattle, so it might be just the sensor lens. I don't really know what it is. But yeah, I don't find that to be as important or annoying for me personally as the side popping QC issue. But really, I think the next batch ideally will fix this. I don't know when this mouse is going to restock. The company did send me the X1 Ultra, but I don't know when that is actually going to arrive. But this one I did buy with my own money, and I do have a few issues with it, like I mentioned. I did see there were reports that the company was offering a $5 refund for people with severe creaking issues, which I don't even think mine would qualify as. And that is kind of laughable, but, you know, they're kind of like a new company to the overseas market. I'm not trying to defend ATK, but the product itself, like, it definitely has potential. The final, like, really minor nitpick issue that I have is this bottom side button. It does feel very loose. This is something that I occasionally notice in Fortnite, and again, doesn't completely hinder the mouse, but I can feel when I hit the back side button that's just like wobbling around, and they could definitely tune that up. But yeah, the buttons themselves are actually like pretty well defined, like with how much they protrude out of the shell. They're definitely like on the thinner side, but they have a pretty like sharp tactile sound, definitely solid. This isn't a mouse that I love for Fortnite, and the back side button, surprisingly, like when I claw, it does feel a little bit positioned like towards the back and high up on the mouse, but I think that's just an issue that I run into a lot with smaller mice. As you can see, the coating, it's good. They call it like an ice touch coating or something. It is just a rubberized coating, and for a black coating, this actually does feel very nice. It does pick up fingerprints somewhat, and it kind of stains, as you can see, over the few weeks that I've used this mouse. Not exclusively, it has kind of stained a bit. You can take a microfiber cloth, but I would say overall the coating is very grippy, more than good enough, and yeah, definitely in that top tier of coatings. Not the best I've tried, as long as you can handle the mouse picking up some staining, and if you do get the white colorway, that will obviously be mitigated. But back to the clicks, which I think I was talking about, or no, I didn't start talking about them. These are pretty solid in terms of Omron opticals. They definitely have a lot of what I call like artificial tactility, but they're not they're not a mushy optical by any means. But honestly, the word I would use to describe them is just stiff, compared to something like the Sora V2, which I actually think has like way too much post travel, way too much side to side wobble, which is not present, at least not to the same extent, on the F1 Ultimate. I do think that those have a more pleasant click experience than the F1 Ultimate. Like I said, this isn't bad, but it's definitely sharp, very tactile, and kind of stiff feeling. And I thought at the start maybe they would like break in, get a bit lighter, a bit bouncier, but they haven't, and that's not a bad thing. That really takes away from the mouse, but it's just worth noting it is a different click experience. But yeah, the quality on them is fine. There's nothing to note about the latency. I mean, they claim it is better than the Viper V3 Pro 8K. I can't notice a difference with my human hand-eye coordination. Maybe some of you guys are like freak athletes who can, in which case you can let me know in the comments down below. With the scroll wheel, there's really nothing to note. It just feels like your typical run-of-the-mill encoder, pretty light scroll wheel click. The scroll wheel hasn't given me any issues. This is just very standard. But maybe in a few months, every unit will have the scroll wheel breakdown, as it seems to happen on most mice. But yeah, I guess one of the next things to talk about is going to be the sensor of this mouse, the 3950 Ultra. And what that essentially means is that ATK paid Pixar a lot, or a decent amount, I really don't know the amount of money, to unlock a few more sensor features. This is still a 3950, but they allow you to adjust the LOD in increments of 0.1 millimeter, which is pretty unique. Razer has had their asynchronous LOD for a few years, so this isn't quite that, but it is more fine-tuning of LOD control, and you can also artificially overclock the DPI to 42K. That is a who cares feature. But they also do have an Apex Shark firmware professional esports mode in the software, so that may be made possible by the slightly modified like sensor they have going on, but it's mostly marketing. I personally can't notice a difference between this and a few of the other 3950s I have, but I do notice a few somewhat off things about this sensor implementation. I can't comfortably use it on 4 or 8K in Fortnite, whereas with most mice, I can get away with 4K. 8K is generally a no-go, but even in other game situations when I'm just clicking, I do find the 8K to be a bit susceptible to wireless interference, like, especially if I have my G-Wolves Hot HDR dongle plugged in. Like, this mouse genuinely, it might as well be on 125 hertz. It's very bizarre. When I test the polling rate, like, it's really fine. It's not a constant 8K, but it looks more stable than it actually feels in-game in my experience. So again, I don't think the sensor implementation is like chalk. My experience on 2K was honestly fine, but I definitely do think a firmware update or two, the sensor will be feeling a bit sharper. The dongle itself looks fine. It's like a larger version of the WL mouse dongle. They got similar geometry going on, and yeah, it just seems like it is very susceptible to wireless interference, like I said, which is a kind of odd issue. I also did notice any LOD setting below 0.1 millimeter just would not feel right, but that's potentially because of these Ghost Glide Cyclone dots I have on, which is off topic, but these are incredible controlled skates in my opinion. they performed well. They provide you a few extra sets of skates in the box and some just very average, below average grips, honestly. But I presume a lot of people buying this mouse will have their own skate solution, and it looks kind of similar to Pulsar's old skates, probably a little bit thinner on this top skate. And yeah, with this mouse, I did not have many major issues, but I did have a good amount of minor issues kind of pile up. And you could definitely argue that the side popping creaking is a major issue with potential to get like worse, obviously. And that keeps it from being something that I'd main, keeps it from getting the seal of approval for now. But like I said before, I really do stand by this shape and design. It just needs to be refined. So I think the next batch will probably be a safer option, but it is also in a kind of higher price tier. I believe that one's going to be like $110. Some people in other countries are having to deal with like custom import fees. So yeah. For me personally, having access to pretty much every mouse, if I'm going to fingertip, I'm still going to gravitate towards the ULX Cheetah. And if I'm going to claw grip a mouse in Fortnite, it's just not going to be something on the smaller side like this, even though it kind of does fill your hand better than most like small, low-profile mice on the market. I'd still go for something like the Viper V3 Pro, even a super light over this for claw grip with my personal hand size. But yeah, really, despite everything, I was still very impressed with this mouse, just the shape in general. I do think it's going to be popular. I think it's a shape they're going to stick with. Maybe they'll have like a fucking carbon fiber 25-gram version of this mouse in a year. But yeah, the click grooves, I would say they feel kind of closest to Final Mouse. I don't know why, that's just like my random last comment I'm going to make in the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Any other questions about this mouse, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this mouse progresses. I'll definitely be coming back to it in the future.